feel as though the reason that I became a psychoanalyst was that I was looking for personal healing and integration. But specifically in terms of being an intellectual, being a caregiver, being a clinician, being a political activist, in other words, the parts that aren't just about my own personal healing, but also extend to working and doing for others, being with others. That, for me, I'm looking all the time to find a way to be more integrated and to have what I say and what I do go together. And that sort of has to do with my idea of the moral third, that I'm looking for a way to actually practice what I preach and preach what I practice.
Right.
And so when I look at my practice and I see that there are lots of things that I'm not able to do, and this certainly happened when I was in training, I just saw that there were all these ways of being that I couldn't live up to. So then I had to ask myself, well, what's with these ideals? What about these ideals of neutrality? How come I'm not living up to them? So that's one side of the picture, and the other side of the picture is, what about, so one side is, let me try to bring the ideals down into the reality. Let me go down into the microbial level of what we do and see where an ideal could actually fit or make sense and where it's just an abstraction that's persecuting us. And I really have been very active in trying to dissolve persecutory ideals. But the other side of it is that I do want to be able to practice some of what I preach. So how am I going to do that? How am I going to really be personally integrated with what I believe is right or true? And what I'm working on now, what I consider the biggest obstacle to doing what we know is right and true, is that we don't really deeply enough believe that it's right and true. Deep in our hearts, we don't believe we're going to overcome. Deep in our hearts, we have fear, and we don't know how to overcome that fear because we don't have enough faith in the power of what human beings can do together to overcome fear. We still don't have enough faith in that. It's a tremendously difficult project to strengthen our faith by actually acting on behalf of that faith as if it were true. So when we go back to the golden rule, do unto others. Well, we don't do it because we don't really believe that it will work. We don't, for a variety of reasons that as psychoanalysts we understand. But let's go beyond that just for a moment and say, the problem is not only that I can say, oh, I don't do that because this happened to me and I had this trauma and I have this conflict. It's also that we're not trying to create a public collective mentality that says it's really the case that we should do unto others as we would have them do unto us, because it's no joke. You actually do feel better when you act that way. You actually like yourself better. You actually believe more in love if you are a loving person. So there's some way that we haven't quite gotten this on board, I feel, in our world, and I'd like to see it, I mean, in the world as a whole, God knows, but I mean, even within our own little